Okay, so I feel like I have to dish out a bit of a warning for this WitchTok compilation. Apparently, with a lot of these WitchToks, I woke up and chose violence. It seems to be the common theme for the day. I woke up and chose violence. So there's going to be a lot more negativity towards certain topics than there usually is in my WitchTok compilations. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, okay, enjoy my temper tantrum. Tell me about a time a deity tested you and made you realize something pretty negative about yourself. I'll go first. A few nights ago, I gave Lucifer, Venus, and Rom a glass of wine as an offering. My typical rule of thumb is to leave the glass on their altars for 24 hours and then dispose of it if I don't need it for anything. When the 24 mark was almost up, Lucifer pops in and goes, "Hey, drink the wine." Now, to me, this is automatically sus because he knows I don't feel right taking one of his offerings for myself. Plus, I'm not the biggest fan of wine. I'm not the biggest wine drinker. And after a bit of back and forth, he was like, "Elias, just drink the wine." Not wanting to get into a full-blown argument with my patron of all things, I drank the wine. Turns out this was a test of trust as to how much I trusted him. And he says, "Your hesitance tells me that this is something we still have to work on." See, in my mind it is. Like, say, if I were to have a guest in my house and I offered them a drink, I wouldn't take that drink when they were almost done with it and drink the rest of it myself. That just wouldn't be right. I know there are some witches out there that do partake in their deities' offerings just so food items don't go to waste. But now I know now that the next time one of my deities says drink the wine, I better drink that wine. But Lucifer wasn't wrong. I do have a lot of trust issues. It's mainly with people, but the fact that it's extending to my deities, my patrons especially, that is a problem. As the old saying goes, trust is a two-way street, and if I can't trust my deities, how can I expect my deities to trust me? I've got quite a bit of work ahead of myself. See, the thing is, I've never worked with or met Anubis, so I really can't say. From what I've seen from other users, he sounds like a pretty cool deity to work with. The deities I've worked with so far seem to revolve around knowledge and relationships. I wouldn't be opposed to working with Anubis or any of the Kemetic gods, or the Hellenic gods. They all sound cool. I'm pretty open-minded, at least I like to think that I am, so I'm never just going to be like, I belong to this pantheon alone, and all the deities I'm ever going to work with are going to belong to this pantheon. I'm never going to be like that. And I know I'm going to get that one person in the comment section that's probably going to be like, "Well, does that include the Christian God as well?" If you ask me, the Christian God owes me an apology and an explanation. And even if he gave that to me, I still wouldn't work with him. Archangels? Sure. But the Christian God has done too much damage. Every single one of us pagans has something either against Jesus, the Christian God, or Christianity as a whole. The common denominator usually boils down to religious trauma, having serious issues ignored simply because of religion, having our pleas ignored at a time when we desperately needed them. If your only excuse to us is, "Oh, well, the Bible says," "Oh, well, my pastor says," "Oh, well, God says this," or "He doesn't like that," that's not a good enough excuse for us. And all the things I just mentioned can apply to atheists as well. A lot of us were not born into paganism. We came from Christian backgrounds, myself included. And the majority of the time we've been through so much that nothing in the Bible can explain it away. That depends. If we're both referring to the same archangel who rebelled against God and disobeyed him, then yes. If you're referring to Satan or the devil, then no. We pagans view Lucifer and Satan as two separate entities, with Lucifer being the angel of light, truth, and knowledge, and Satan being this character to represent humanity's collective ideas of evil and corruption personified. We don't see them as one and the same. We actually view them as two separate individuals, and Satan just being this mythical character. Not to bash religion or anything, but I personally believe that Satan's name is only used to keep the Christian faith in check. In other words, he's just a fear tactic. And at the same time, Lucifer's kind of used to being mistaken for either other demons, like demons of the Ars Goetia, or Satan, or even Baphomet. They're all separate entities. Well, I can't bash on Catholics too much because my dad's side of the family is like almost entirely Catholic. Then again, most of them don't know that I'm trans, let alone pagan, so I do have something against Catholicism as a whole because they're the main reason that Christianity's the dominant religion. Crusades, anyone? General rule of thumb I try to follow is if you're respectful towards me, I will be respectful towards you. I don't care about your religion. You're disrespectful towards me, expect me to be a bit of a dick to you. I have plenty of friends that are Christian, so long as we keep religion out of our topics of discussion, we tend to get along. But I've also had friends completely cut all ties with me because of my religion or my gender identity. So I've honestly forgotten how much I hate this excuse. God only gives people as much as they can handle, huh? So what about the plenty of people who are currently laying in a hospital suffering from one ailment or another and just want to be done and over with? What about people suffering from severe depression and anxiety and PTSD, and they're struggling with that every single day? Children, babies, currently dealing with cancer. And this is why I say God's plan is bullshit. God has no plan. All that negative bullshit I just mentioned earlier, that's not part of any sort of plan. It just happens. God only gives people what they can handle. My ass. Honestly, I'm more compelled to believe the Big Bang Theory than anything. The Earth itself is 4.5 billion years old. And there's plenty of archaeological evidence of dinosaurs and Ice Age and Neanderthals and stuff like that. That is scientific evidence I cannot turn a blind eye to. I don't believe any sort of deity created our universe. Rather, they found certain things about our universe to govern. Like, take the apartment I live in, for example. I played no part in creating the building that it's in, or designing the layout of the unit that I live in. It just so happens to be a unit available, and I was placed into it. And I used my talents and the things that I have to make it my home, my own kingdom. And I hold the responsibility to maintain it and keep it in livable conditions. It's virtually the same concept. Okay, so this is a video that someone sent to me. Basically, another die-hard Christian trying to explain why homosexuality is a sin. And there's several things wrong with that video. Number one, I feel like the story about Noah's Ark is complete and utter bullshit. If you were to take the actual dimensions of the Ark, it would only be slightly larger than a professional football field. A boat that size cannot fit one of every kind of animal, plus all the food that it's going to need, plus all of the waste it's going to produce, plus all of the babies that they're going to have. Not going to happen. Not to mention homosexuality does exist in nature. Plenty of animals of the same sex will mate for life. Similar concept can apply to humans because we are of the kingdom Animalia, thus we are animals. So I don't quite know what's going on right now. The other day, and I don't know why, but I just had the sudden urge to work out. Please understand that I am a fat ass that does not know the meaning of the words. But there was just something that was screaming, get off your lazy ass, buy some dumbbells, buy some resistance bands, I don't care what the fuck you gotta do, and work the fuck out. Ordinarily, I would go for a daily walk around the town, but it is too freaking cold to do that right now. It sort of feels like a spirit or a deity entered the chat and said this to me. but I cannot identify which one. But yeah, I got the strange urge to pump iron now. I bought these things for like 20 bucks. So if anyone knows any deities associated with this, let me know. Pardon my spiffiness, I'm about to go in for a job interview, but I finally figured it out. So the majority of the comments theorized that it was either Ares or the Morgan. We also had a couple of comments that thought it was either Apollo or Thor. Some of you guys are close, and I think only like 2 people got it actually right. It was Mars, the Roman god of war. Now, I know there's a few people out there that are gonna be like, well, isn't Ares the same thing? They're not the same thing. Mars actually greatly dislikes Ares. Apparently, the 2 of them, despite both being gods of war, do not get along. But yeah, it was Mars. And yes, Venus is partially behind it. That's a story for another time when I've got more time. But yeah, a day and a half of solid spirit work, figured out it was Mars. So we'll see how this goes. I see what you're trying to do here, but let me use this analogy to kind of clear things up a little bit. Are Jack Dorsey and Susan Wojcicki the same person? As you all probably might have answered, the answer is no. They're both CEOs of a popular social media app, but they're 2 completely separate entities. Similarly, Ares and Mars are also 2 separate entities. They belong to 2 separate pantheons. Ares is meant to represent the more negative aspects of war: tragedy, brutality, bloodshed. Mars was celebrated as a deity, second only to Jupiter, as a protector and defender of Rome. He's also said to be more level-headed, whereas Ares is described as being more impulsive. And note, across all pantheons, there are multiple gods that govern the same thing. You know how many freaking gods of fertility there are out there? A lot! So I want you guys to make note of the screenshot behind me and read the comment. That kind of shit always makes me laugh. You know what's really disrespectful and not funny? Taking shit that ain't yours and passing it off as your own. Seriously, when I think about it, so much about Christianity originates in paganism, it makes me believe that ancient Christians secretly wanted to be pagan. From holidays to certain religious figures to certain symbols. A lot of them have their origins set in paganism. The way I see it, a lot of us pagans are just taking back what is rightfully ours. Get fucked.
She does. All false gods bow to Jesus, Hecate included. Certainly does.
You know, originally I told myself that unless it was something severe, I was going to stop making Stitch videos till Wesley follows Jesus. Because I believe that I have said everything that I could possibly say. There is nothing new I can add to the basket. But I also like calling out entitled Christians. I don't care what she believes. No deity out there bows to Yahweh. Any sort of implications about that coming from Christians is automatically laughed at. And Wesley, I dare you to look up the origins of Easter and Christmas. I fucking dare you. Both have their roots in paganism. Jesus' entire backstory is based off of Balder, the Norse god. All of which created to make Christianity look more appealing to pagans. But in my mind, it's just paganism without the pagan title. Right, time to fill you guys in on this stuff now. For those who don't know, because I am Le Shadow Band at the moment, I have a new deity in the picture. It's Mars, the Roman god of war. And after a day and a half of meditating and fiddling with my tarot deck and just all around trying to figure out why Mars was here, Venus popped in. And she goes, "So what do you think?" And I was like, I think that was an experience. Mars and I have 2 wildly different personalities. But she tipped him off because I struggle with body image issues to the extent that there are things she cannot help me with. She said, I may not be able to help you, but Mars definitely can do something. My only question is, if we get more Roman gods in the picture, who's next? Right? And I personally believe it's because we no longer know that much about them. We've got basic descriptions about them and what they were like and how the Romans worshipped them, and that's about it. Other than that, everything else is like, oh, the Greek gods. Everything's about the Greek gods now. They used to be Roman, but now they're the Greek gods. They're not the same gods. Aphrodite and Venus, completely separate entities even though they're goddesses of the same things. Zeus and Jupiter, both separate entities even though they're gods of the same things. Ares and Mars, completely separate entities even though they're gods of the same thing. My entire childhood, I adored the deities of other pantheons, Egyptian, Hellenic, Norse, but I knew nothing about the Roman gods. And now that I'm working with them and starting to learn, I am absorbing information like a sponge. I read this and had to do a double take. How it feels to feel the presence of a deity is a mixed bag. Universally, it's like a person walked into the room. You acknowledge, I'm no longer alone and someone is here with me. For Lucifer, his presence is normally cold and stern, but it's gradually easing up to a more charismatic presence. Ram's presence is massive, like a giant walked into my room. Because he is giant, he's 10 feet tall. I would describe Venus's as warm and elegant. And Mars comes in with the same level of energy as if he is kicking down my front door and inviting himself in. Mars's presence is loud and jarring because he wants me to be motivated, which conflicts with my own because I'm more quiet and laid back. So yeah, this should be fun. Ha! That would be gold. That would... I think that would make my year. Like Lucifer, there's not really anything I can compare Mars's voice to. Just imagine a man, very muscular, probably mid-30s, hopped up on a bunch of energy drinks. I think that's close enough. He's an absolute unit, up to his eyeballs in testosterone and motivational energy. And that's motivational energy I need because I struggle to get the motivation to work out. Exercise and me are not friends, but damn it, we're about to be. Here's my thing. She can talk about the Christian God all day, every day. She can talk about Jesus all day, every day. That is her religion. She has the right to do that. My issue is she basically claims to be a prophet for them. She imposes herself on people who did absolutely nothing to her and sticks her nose where it doesn't belong. Rather than going out and attacking random people she doesn't know personally for the religions they worship or the practices they partake in, I wish she would emphasize the more positive aspects of Christianity. But just like with a lot of evangelical Christians, especially with evangelical Christians, she neglects to separate her own personal issues with the religion she follows. But seriously, every time I hear about a Christian causing problems, it's always an evangelical Christian. Watch out, I've seen a type before. That girl is so dangerous. You know, normally I'm not one to do this, but it's the arrogance for me. It's the self-entitlement for me. It's the pride for me. You know, according to some, pride is the worst deadly sin of them all. So you tell me who exactly the proud one is here. Lucifer? Or Wesley follows Jesus? Okay, so I get this type of question a lot. What is the best book, website, or just general source to learn about a particular deity or particular pantheon? Understand that I've identified as a pagan for almost 8 years, and for pretty much the entirety of that 8 years, I have spent countless hours researching, and I could not name all of the books and the websites and the various videos I have watched to learn the information I know. Not to mention all the stuff I learned from personal experience. Understand that there is no one book, one website, or one video that you can interact with to learn everything that you need to know. For us, there is no church we can go to or a Bible we can reference to learn this stuff. The best thing I can advise is to talk to other pagans and remember that Google is your best friend. Beautiful theory, but there are a few problems with it. Number one being, if the entity that I encountered way back when was actually an evil spirit that wanted to separate me from God to leech off of my spiritual energy, why has my spiritual energy been growing? You may have a fairly valid argument about the insult part, but here's the thing. I basically gave Lucifer the middle finger when I was 11. A metaphorical middle finger. I basically gave him the most degrading of insults you could give to his name, and he still came back. So if Lucifer has the power to take a dramatic insult and still come back because he wants to work with me, why can't God? And number 3, I am not God's child. I am none of my deity's child. I am the collective result of my family lineage. That's it. Clearly, there are things you fail to realize about me and other pagans. To most pagans, and most pagan gods, Yahweh is a joke. Yahweh has earned nothing but my complete and utter disdain over his existence. He has done nothing to make me want to love, value, or respect him. And you hypocrites have no room to talk because you guys will go on for days insulting the pagan gods, but give Yahweh all the love, glory, and praise in the world. So why is it so alien to you when we pagans praise our gods and mock the Christian God? It's the hypocrisy for me. And yes, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Hashtag fuck God. See, I feel like this is one of the major differences between Christianity and paganism. With Christianity, it's like, follow this religion or else you're going to hell. We pagans, what do we have? Become a pagan or else. Or else what? I don't know. You miss out on some bomb-ass interactions with some awesome deities? I don't fucking know. I don't think there is a single pagan out there that practices paganism out of fear of what will happen after they die. Some of us actually embrace the idea of death. Oh, when I die, my body will be returned to the earth from whence it came. Oh, my soul will go to Valhalla. Or my soul will go to the astral plane like many others before me. Or I will be reincarnated. There's a lot of options. The only fear we face is when we disrespect a deity, and they take care of that immediately. Close, my primary spirit animal is the fox, and my secondaries are the raven and the deer. One of my neighbors, who happens to be a Norse pagan, says that those animals, the only thing that they say about me is that I'm extremely passive. And that kind of hurts. I don't know why that hurts. And that's not to say that I have anything against wolves. I have nothing against wolves at all. I just don't relate to them. But I have gotten the comment more than once that my eyes resemble that of a wolf. What does it mean? I don't know, but I'm still caught up on the whole passive comment. From what I've heard from other pagans, it tends to vary depending on the deity. Some deities take it in stride and they view it as a form of entertainment. Like, oh yeah, I'm totally like that. Yeah, without a doubt. Other deities tend to get kind of frustrated about it. Like, what the fuck is this? This is not what I'm like at all. For Lucifer, it kind of depends. If we're talking about a little red man with horns, he tends to take that image as a personal insult. Now, if we talk about his personality being projected through a human image, then he can find some entertainment through that. In particular, he finds Tom Ellis's portrayal in the show Lucifer to be particularly amusing. But yeah, little red man with horns, sitting in a pit of sulfur, saying, I am your god now, and torturing a bunch of people, that's not what he's about at all. No, don't do this to me. I used to write fan fiction, for Christ's sakes. You don't need to be doing this to me. My mind is going there. I'm trying desperately not to envision how that would look. No, no. This is my platform. This is my fans. I'm not gonna be the one to write that shit, just so you know. I'm not writing it, I'm not drawing it, I'm not doing nothing with that.